Our last panel discussion, and for this I would like to request our moderator, Mr. Akshay Garkel sir, partner and leader, Cyber Grant Thornton Bharat LLP, to kindly come on stage. Can we have a huge round of applause for our moderator, ladies and gentlemen? Zordar taaliyan ho jaye, come on. Thank you, sir. Would like to request our first panelist, Mr. Ambarish Kumar Singh, CISO, Godrej and Boys Manufacturing Company Limited, to kindly come on stage. Can we have a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Ambarish sir? Now I would like to request Mr. Harshad Mengle sir, Head SOC, Aditya Birla Group, to kindly come on stage. Can we have a huge round of applause? Thodi all energy, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, now I would like to request our third panelist to kindly come on stage, Mr. Vijay Devnath, Group GM and CISO, Center for Railway Information System. Come on, huge round of applause. Last but not the least, our fourth panelist, I would like to request Mr. Abhishek Bakshi sir, Regional Manager, West India Cyber Incorporation, to kindly come on stage. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is our last panel discussion, and this will be on the topic securing the future IoT security challenges and solutions in India. Thank you so much, sir. Please be seated and let's begin with our panel discussion.
Thank you, everyone, and I'm sure each one of you essentially are having a very informative and a great day, and it's been a great use of your time. I know this is the last session, and we'll try to keep it as interactive as possible between the awards and after that, the networking session. So, of course, IoT essentially is one of the emerging areas, and we talk about IoT. You look at transforming the ordinary into the extraordinary, connecting the devices with the data, and of course, the country essentially is looking at a paradigm shift. We've seen a digital inclusion, we've seen a heavy usage of artificial intelligence, and of course, IoT cannot be ignored with that digital transformation shift. Just a couple of things before I invite the first panelist to kind of come and speak. Just wanted to share some data in terms of what India essentially has been seeing from an IoT standpoint. The number of IoT devices in India expected to reach close to about 2.1 billion by 2025. The Indian IoT market is expected to reach about 9.28 billion essentially by 2025 and generate on a revenue scale of about 21.4 billion in revenue by 2030. I think that is something that is huge and humongous, and it's definitely playing an important role from a perspective where we are looking at the transformation from an IT, OT / IoT perspective. So my first question is essentially to Ambarish. Ambarish, what are the unique IoT security challenges which we face today in the emerging economies, especially like India?
Hello. Yeah, I think it's a very relevant question. First of all, for the benefit of all, I just like to say, what is OT? One is we have been talking about OT, but except manufacturing sector, I think it has not been very relevant to all of us, right? So, OT is operating technology. So, we have been talking about, there is a machine which is running on a very older operating system. And why? Because there is software which can support only that operating system. And that machine controls the controller, and that controller is going to control a larger manufacturing plant. Okay. Now you cannot upgrade this OT machine because there is a dependency on the operating system and the controller. And if you want to upgrade, it's a huge cost. Upgrading that operating system is very easy, but you cannot upgrade that controller, which is going to control your larger machine. First thing. Second thing, you look at the IoT. Today, we are manufacturing a lot of smart product, right? Smart AC, smart fridge, right? A smart camera. The moment you talk about smart, the IoT things comes into play. And what are the problems we have seen recently is One is a lot of unawareness about what are the challenges of IoT security. We have been struggling with the OT security itself, and due to various reasons. One is it was not in focus. So even today, we have very few OEMs which are solving the core problem of OT security what we have. First thing. Second thing is the IoT came in, and probably due to the business drivers, due to the revenue streams, a lot of organizations went into those products and then realized that cybersecurity is lagging behind. Without realizing is that any digital transformation journey, if you do it without catering for the threat landscape you are getting into, probably you may solve one problem, but probably you're going to create multiple problems. Because I personally believe is that digital transformation and cybersecurity is two sides of the same coin. Okay. So if you look at the IoT security perspective, we need to look at from the chip to cloud. You have the chip, which is sensing, or probably it is sensing something, the instruction which you are giving by a mobile app or something. Chip, mobile app, connectivity, infrastructure. Infrastructure generally on cloud today. If you are missing one of the element, probably you are aiming for a breach. And breach is going to cost you from the brand reputation perspective, from the a lot of legal repercussions going to come. So a lot of unawareness, OEMs are not probably struggling with the sensor. Mainly we are seeing a lot of issues with the sensor because we don't know what is there in the sensor, but it is acting, or it is giving the functionality what you want. But if you want to do a security assessment of that sensor, a lot of limitation is there. Probably we are doing well on mobile app, maybe on cloud infra, but that is the gray area. So what I'm trying to say is we are struggling here, and a lot of things are happening. Okay, somebody trying to do something else, somebody trying to do something else. But by and large, majority of the organizations are in this space at this point of time are struggling, and probably I think we are finding our own way of solving it. I'll pause here for now.
Right. Thank you so much. And I think I'll take a cue from the point where you mentioned cybersecurity and digital transformation are two sides of the same coin. I think that was very well said. And of course, we'll keep the complexities aside for now, but let's talk about IoT basically brings in a lot of innovation. It helps in transformation, but at the same time, we also know that the threat landscape, the attack vectors are shifting, and they're getting more and more agile as we speak, and smarter. So my question to Harshad here is, and you come from, you're the owner of one of the greatest SOC in the country today. So the question here is that how do you keep a fine balance between adopting that innovation versus looking at the security aspects? So how does one really keep the fine balance?
It's a very good question. Let me share my thoughts. I'm sharing my thoughts based on my understanding, nothing to do with organization as such. See, when we talk about innovation, there are many things comes into picture. Ideally, when we talk about innovation, there is some challenges which we try to address in OT or IoT space. When we try to address these, challenges, we always innovate something new. Now, unfortunately, when we do innovate, there is always a missing piece, which is security. So you must have seen IT, OT, to extent they are somewhat similar, but at the same time they are different, because IT, OT talks about majorly the legacy systems, the systems which has multiple protocols. So it is not that we work on FTPs, SMTPs, and HTTPs. There are many protocols like BACnet, MQTT. There are certain standards also comes into protocol, and these are all specific protocols which cannot be understood so easily. So I think, in my opinion, when it comes to innovation, first thing is basically you need to bake in the security right in the inception phase. Second, I think I missed the second part. Second part was mainly on the regulation side, right?
So innovation and security complexities.
Complexity. So I think when it comes to complexity, I think what we need to do is, whenever we are talking about complexity, first is we need to understand the risk-based approach. If we can take a risk-based approach, it is very essential. I'll share some of my experience. I am in OT field since last couple of years. I remember when 2020 there was a CyberX, which is Tesla, was hacked through Bluetooth, And I think we started realizing that yes, Bluetooth has certain vulnerabilities. Very recently, a TPM 2.0 platform, trusted platform, which is basically hosts a lot of IoT devices that got certain vulnerabilities, and entire, I think, many millions and billions of the OT devices were at stake because of the vulnerability. Now, if you look at the threat landscape which is changing and look at the innovations is telling us to start using our smart devices, but at the same time it has also certain repercussions on security. Your privacy data can be leaked out, your identities can be tapped. If these devices are connected to your corporate network, naturally the lateral movement can happen. Now in OT systems, things are little difficult, or I would say complex, because there you look at the Purdue model, we have certain right from 0 to 5 levels defined. But in Purdue model, not many of the organizations, I would not say, they do not have a maturity, but as of now in India, what I have seen is basically there's definitely scope for improvement, and I think we need to focus more on how we can actually bake in security right in the inception. Because when I look into plants have plants within plants. When I say plants within plants, you take any plant, it may be a cement plant or aluminum plant. They have a power plant within, they have a quality plant, there are multiple plants. Their interoperability is a major challenge. Now having these kind of devices getting into your system, physical security, your certificate based authentication, these are all basic challenge which we are actually struggling with. This is how I see the upcoming challenges in OT and IT security.
Well, thank you so much, and I think a very great perspective you mentioned in terms of how do you apply the security controls while maintaining a Chinese wall between IT OT, at the same time the effectiveness of a data flow between those two mediums is also very important. And I'll just take a couple of steps back and move my question to Vijay. Vijay, basically we've seen various scenarios where government essentially has been promoting a lot of advanced technologies, digital inclusions, payment ecosystems, a lot of initiatives which have come in, right? And now, of course, there are discussions that there should be policies on ethical usage of AI, gaming, and so on and so forth. Do you think IoT-driven environments should also be regularized, number one? And what are some of the policies that you feel that should come in from the government think tank to kind of regularize these technologies?
Hi, good evening, everyone. As a serving government employee, I will not go into the domain of prescribing things which the government should do or not do, because it's a domain of someone else, the ministry, who should do that. We may be part of that discussion, but we are not supposed to discuss that outside. I will agree with all my fellow panelists that the things are becoming more and more complex as the OT is moving into IoT. From my organization perspective, I can say that we have been using the industrial control systems like SCADA and all that, the analog part of it, since last 3 decades almost. Slowly it has become digital, then chips have come in and all those things have become automated. We have to keep in mind that IoT is nothing but a system which has some local intelligence to perform some action. That action may be only an data point or alert to be sent to a central system. I will also like to delve upon a point where both the vendors and the consumers like us become slightly euphoric, I will say, when it comes to the innovative part of the IoT. Somebody has developed some chip which can control a refrigerator or a washing machine and all. And another vendor goes on and develops a intelligent device based on it, like a Tesla autonomous thing. We have had vendors suggesting us autonomous cranes, autonomous material movement systems, even autonomous metro trains. But I, as a security professional or a person who has come from the maintenance side to the security side, I will go back to my maintenance angle more, because security will come only when the business is functioning properly. If there is no business, there is no security required. In fact, we are not required if the business is not functioning. When you introduce a IoT, a true IoT, which has intelligence and everything in it, you are also introducing some operating system, some sort of a code, some sort of logic into it to perform certain actions. Now, this action has to be performed 24/7 all the time accurately. It cannot, supposed to take leave or go on leave or something like that. And its health should also be a concern. Generally, information technology security professionals are supposed to be looking after CIA, confidentiality, integrity and availability. So we generally go after the confidentiality or security part of the IoT, but we are also supposed to be maintaining the integrity and availability of that IoT at that place. And those places can be, as in my organization, can be very, very harsh. The temperatures, the rains, the water logging and all those things. So what I request all the IoT vendors who come to us for selling their new innovative IoT is that have they taken care of the environmental conditions in which that IoT is supposed to operate 24/7? What is their failure rate, MTTR, MTBF, etc., etc.? If something is not responding, who will go to, attend to it? Whether it will be replaced, whether it will be over the air update will be sent, or what, how will then supply chain attacks, this, that, so many things come. Do they have a lab where each and every innovation or a change in the operating system or the logic of that IoT is being tested thoroughly before being deployed onto thousands and thousands of IoTs in the field? These are some of the questions which now cybersecurity professionals are supposed to ask, and also build them into the SLAs which you are signing with the vendors or the OEMs. Another important aspect is the maintainability in the long term. No innovation is going to last, beyond a few years and all that. And whereas the IoTs, most of the IoT and industrial control systems, their life is almost 20 years, 25 years. In our locomotives, it is 30 years plus. So, my another request to vendors and my fellow professionals in IT and security is that look for long-term engagements, that is 10 years and beyond, so that the both the vendor, OEM and us both remain assured or tied to each other for the long-term sustenance of that IoT ecosystem, I will say. Security and all those things are inbuilt into this ecosystem which you will have with them?
Thank you so much. I think that is a very different and a very diverse perspective. Generally, from a security standpoint, we as security professionals do think about confidentiality, to a large extent integrity, and of course availability is important, but I think the sustainability part is also something very important. And today if you look at the environment socio perspective as well, where there is a huge amount of climate change which is happening, I'm sure the problems are not limited to only waterlogging and others, but also much beyond that. So is it only IP65, IP68 and so on and so forth, or much beyond that, which requires the next level of innovation? And I think you really rightly touched upon that point, sir. Thank you so much for that. And my next question is to Abhishek, taking a cue from, what Vijayji mentioned, you spoke about 3 decades. I'm sure there'll be so many assets which would be more than 2 decades old or a decade old, right? So that's legacy. So, how does one really look at from a security perspective? How do you treat legacy devices? Because obviously there's a high level of dependency on, heavy industry or railways or any other environment. And you cannot remove that. It has to be a gradual shift, right? So, how do you kind of work on those scenarios?
So, first of all, I would like to take a cue from what my fellow panelists just said. So the question itself, the suggestion which Vijayji said, that whenever you are evaluating a new vendor now, make sure that you have a plan to stick with them for at least 3 decades. If this was done earlier, probably this question would never have arisen. So that's one important aspect. Secondly, I would like to thank Ambarish when he typically highlighted the challenges which are already there because we are using legacy systems and how hard it is to replace these. Taking to your question, irrespective of legacy devices or new IoT devices, the basics, since we are cybersecurity professionals, the basics really boil down to number one, hygiene. And while it is very easy to say that you have to follow hygiene, we want to touch a few aspects, or we want to have a key measure areas where people can concentrate. And when that comes, the first few things which come to my mind personally are, one is security audits of these systems. This could be a mix of, or this should be a mix of internal audits as well as external audits. Moving on, if we can keep these legacy devices separate, like a network segmentation is done in a way that we can avoid their interface with critical infrastructure, or if they are the critical infrastructure in the first place, make sure that nobody reaches them at all. But then again, as Vijayji said, that the world is moving from OT to an IoT space. We probably should look at solutions, third-party solutions, where we have the ability to scan these devices if they are connected to the internet. So that is one of the, if you have a global scanning maybe tool or a party solution, that could be a good threat anticipation indicator to my sense. And look for people who are available to support these kind of devices. And beating all, I mean, at the end of it, if we have to assume a worst case scenario, we must make sure that whoever is having these devices has an incident response plan, whether it is direct internal or maybe it is through a lot of vendors who can support. So that is my take on these solutions.
Thank you so much. And I think a couple of good points you mentioned in terms of segregation, in terms of a third-party utility which can make reachability to the legacy devices possible, and so on and so forth. I think very valid and very crisp, response there. And we'll go through another round of questioning. We have about 8 minutes left, so I'll just request the fellow panelists to keep your responses limited to 2 or 3 minutes. Ambarish, we spoke about IoT, new technology, legacy technology. In some areas, it has really transformed, and we're looking at a completely new age, as you mentioned, smart devices and connected homes and all of those. Of course, it requires skills to maintain that, right? So where do you think is the barometer of skills at this point in time within the country? Do you see this as a shortage, or you see that there are a dearth of professionals available? both from implementation standpoint and also auditing and analysis perspective?
Yeah, so I think from a skills perspective, cybersecurity itself, we are having a good shortage, right? I probably, if I ask people to raise their hand, every organization is hiring, right? We all have an open position for some or other position role in the cybersecurity, right? And on an average, we are taking 6 to 8 months to hire a person at any position you take, maybe engineer, lead, or any position, and the pool is same. That's the main problem, because the guy is leaving from here to going another, somebody coming from that organization, this organization, they are rotating, right? So I think we'll not be able to solve the skill gap problem unless probably there is a larger collaboration with the industry and the academia. That's why I think a lot of things are happening. That's why I think if you look at a lot of universities, colleges have started giving a lot of courses on cybersecurity, and they started integrating with the industry what is the requirement of the industry, so that once the boy passes out, a girl passes out, he is ready to get a job, right job, and he understands what is the requirement of the industry, first thing. Second thing, probably in a cybersecurity, having OT security skills is probably very, very rare, okay? And I think very few organization has. So what we can do is, what we are doing currently, I am doing is create a mentorship program in your organization. So probably you are trying to inculcate, you are trying to train somebody, what is OT, what is security, trying to figure out what this guy is supposed to know, what is the future. And if you give him the larger view, probably he will get motivated. And a lot of people, if you find in IT also, right, they are in IT, and then suddenly you realize that they are interested in cybersecurity. And they change their role, and they come to this side. And third one is, I think, diversity and inclusivity. And the other, these things, if you look at this all, how many we have, diversity is an issue, right? So we need to solve that. So I think a lot of women, girls are coming into cybersecurity, but I think we have a long way to go.
I think a great answer, idea of incubating courses with academia, also looking within the organization and seeing that, there is knowledge about the organization. It's, can I append the OT or the IoT skill and then kind of make it as a lethal combination? How do you drive it through passion? And then, of course, the inclusivity and the diversity quotient. Thank you so much, Ambarish. And come to Harshad. Harshad, there's a hot topic on privacy, right? All of us essentially, as individuals, as employees, or even, as businesses, today are looking forward to the DPDP Act, right? So my question here is that, could you just share some insights about, how do we kind of look at the privacy angle and the personal data information which floats through the IoT, or is it really relevant from a contextual standpoint?
Yeah, I think it is pretty relevant, because today we are all, surrounded by IoT devices, right? From smartwatch till the, smart ACs, smart washing machine, and they are all actually essentially capturing somehow the other some data, right? I remember one of the case study where actually there are certain smart homes where actually there are certain cameras which actually operates looking at the humidity or looking at the people around. It changes the speed of your air conditioner, or it will change the ambience lighting and all that, right? Essentially it's fancy to have for a home some people who are actually smartly inside the home. But look at the data which it is capturing. I mean, they are storing somewhere, right? It has to run some sort of algorithms, right? Everything happens on cloud today. I mean, I remember you take any camera today, off-the-shelf camera, they are giving you certain levels of security. Of course, you need to put a pin and all that, but essentially they are all storing data not on camera, they are storing on cloud. Your footages might be stored in the SD card on the camera, but the authentication authorization is all basically going back to a cloud. So I think it is very much essential. And the privacy aspect, I think after the law, once it is regulation and law, I think things will change drastically. In my opinion, I think privacy as we talk about security by design, I think we also started talking about privacy by design, and this is pretty much essential in IoTs and OT as well.
Thank you so much. I think great points you mentioned. Of course, we are as individuals also victims of, our data being captured anytime, anywhere, and also, some of the smart AI devices, without naming them, we don't know how much are they listening and what they're collecting. So absolutely right. That reminds me, I need to switch off my Alexa at home at the time when we all go to sleep.
I think just to add here, just
And
one-
delete
what-
the data.
And
just
delete the data as well. Yes.
Just to add here, you have smartwatches today, right? As soon as you get into your some strategic meeting, right? There is a pulse meter, right, in the smartwatch. It will also give you some sort of indication that your BP is shooting up. Yeah. So, based on the kind of responses you are giving in your board meetings, I think your data is also getting captured there.
I'm happy that there are no truth analyzers so far before it gets into a different spin. Sorry, keeping paucity of time. Vijayji, question to you is, you have an environment with obviously IoT devices. How do you kind of manage cyber incidents and kind of respond to attacks? Again, obviously, notwithstanding coming to the skilling, but at least do you suggest any 2 or 3 good practices that one can adopt?
Yeah, very, very pertinent question. This links to the availability part also. Point number 1, as I told earlier, that you have to have a long-term good relationship with the OEM and the maintainer of the IoT systems. Then don't overdo anything. Too much of automation, like my colleagues have said, that to convenience and privacy, they are two opposites. So as we are hooked to convenience, our privacy is dead. Please don't quote me anywhere, but it's my personal opinion. The privacy in Indian context or Indian society is dead. You know more about your neighbor than neighbor himself knows about him. So that is one. But you asked 3 points. Point number 1, have a good and long-term relationship with your IoT vendors, and that should includes supply, maintenance, replacement, as well as updates of the systems. Point number 2, you should build into your audit schedule the audit of the IoT's environmental factors as well, whether it has had a thermal shock or not, whether the parameters or the calibration is okay or not. You may say, some of our departments say that ये मेरा काम नहीं है, but ये किसी ना किसी का तो काम है. So if the IoT is not giving you correct data, correctly calibrated data, all your AI, ML and everything down the line goes for a toss. So please include in your audit schedule, physical as well as IT audit schedule, the health monitoring of the IoTs also. Third is everything depends on PPT and VMC. People process technology. People have discussed what to do with people and all that, but that people may come from the vendor as well, as in our case. But visibility, monitoring and control is very, very important. Unless you can see the IoT 24/7, you can't monitor it and you can't control it. So any solution which any vendor is giving about security or availability of the IoT, he should or she should include the 24/7 monitoring of the parameters, health parameters of the IoT as well within the solution, apart from auditing it from the cyber security perspective.
Thank you so much. And this is really crisp. I know we have time up, but there's always one provision for last question or cushion for last question, right? So, Abhishek, we have seen that we are living in the era of startups, digital native explosion companies who aspire to become unicorns and then from there unicorns. While in their early stages, right, there are, as we said, high adoption of IoT in most of the businesses today. How obviously it's a balance between security and convenience, but at the same time, how does the community, or what are the 2 or 3 points you would like to recommend for the SMBs to kind of adapt from IoT perspective, security largely, right? Because
So to touch base on how SMEs will play a very important role typically is, I'm sure most of you were here when the keynote speaker spoke today morning. He said that there is a lot of opportunity in the defense area and a lot of SMEs are willing to participate and the government encourages that. Now we are having these vendors in all areas, be it smart cities, be it defense, everywhere. What we need to do is these companies are focused on developing technologies today. So the key things the government should also impose in some areas, or maybe have some guidelines for all the SMEs who are in these sectors. They should have a priority to plan for security when they build a product. And then to understand their challenges, they may not have the resources in terms of funds. So use a lot of open source technologies, use a lot of cloud platforms to scale faster. But at the same time, choose security vendors or devices when they are manufacturing these of a kind where they can get, again, support for a long time. They can get a surety that these products are really good in terms of their authentication and how they will perform. And at the end of the day, it is always good governance, which will matter.
thank you so much for that perspective. And with that, we'll end our session. We'll open it up for questions from the audience. If there are any questions, happy to answer. And then back to ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir, and all our panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a huge round of applause for such an insightful session? Now I would like to request Augustine, sir, to kindly come on stage and present the certificates to our panelist and moderator. We'll start with Ambarish Kumar, sir, CISO, Godrej and Boyce Manufacturing Company Limited. Yes, of course. Before that, a group photograph. Okay, requesting Augustine sir to kindly come forward and present the certificate to Ambarish Kumar sir. Ladies and gentlemen, huge round of applause, please. Keep supporting with your cheers. Next we have certificate for Harshad Mengle sir, Head SOC Aditya Birla Group. There is a certificate for Harshad sir. Thank you so much sir for coming here. Next we have the certificate for Vijay Devnath sir, Group General Manager and CISO, Center for Railway Information System. Thank you so much sir for your presence. Next we have Abhishek Bakshi sir, Regional Manager West India Cyber Incorporation. Thank you so much sir. Last but not the least, certificate for our moderator, Mr. Akshay Garkel sir, Partner and Leader, Cyber Grant Thornton Bharat LLP. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, huge round of applause, please.